Hi everyone, and welcome to the Translastars podcast with me, Helen, the country manager for translastars.com. Today, I'm really happy to be joined by Eva Katernberg, a German user-centric localization specialist who is currently based in France. So a big welcome to you, Eva, and thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So could you just start by explaining to our listeners a little bit more about what an average working day looks like for you?
Sure, no problem. So as many freelancers would say, probably it's never exactly the same day, but that goes probably for many jobs, like even in-house jobs. Usually I still try to have some sort of routine. So I avoid working on the weekends and still working kind of in normal office hours. So when I start in the morning, I usually start out with emails, because I work with some long-term clients that send me stuff regularly every day. So when I get up, I check my email to see what I need to do during this day, sort of also to build my to-do list. And then when I know what I need to do for the day, I start to get going with all of my tasks, which include usually something like email translations, or if one of my clients is launching a new product, it might be a website translation or some reviews, because for one client I mostly work as a reviewer, so I might do that. Or I also have a couple of calls with clients, maybe also a potential client. So it really depends on the day, but those are the sorts of types of works I would do usually, I guess. As well, maybe some transcreations for titles, anything like that. The odd video here and there, but this is rather a rare occasion, but yeah.
Okay, and I know you mentioned there that you try to stick to normal hours, not work at the weekends. Is that something that's always possible, or do you sometimes have to break your own rules there?
Sometimes I have to break my rule. Sometimes it's because I have lots of things to do. As many freelancers know, sometimes there's lots of things and then it suddenly goes down and you have nothing at all. It's either the one or the other. So if I'm in one of the very busy periods, then sometimes I might work on the weekend, especially if it's like a long translation and I really need to focus for a long time. I even prefer the weekend because no one is sending me emails, no one is sending me Slack messages. I'm not interrupted, so I can really focus deeply on this specific translation. Or even sometimes I might take like a half day off. As I'm a freelancer, I can. So if I did that and there's something left over from the week, I might squeeze it in on the weekend. So I give myself some leeway on that. But in general, I try to stick to working hours in the week because most of my friends and family are not freelancers, so they don't work on the weekend. And to see them in non-corona times, I keep my weekend free.
Yeah, and to try and not work 24/7.
Yeah, no,
which is always tempting, but sometimes you've just got to know when to stop.
Yes, and especially I feel like with the pandemic, I kind of fell into this hole at the end of last year to never stop working in the evening, because I was like, oh, what should I do? Like, there's nothing to do, might as well continue work. So now I try to not do that because, yeah, it's not good for mental health.
Yeah. So nowadays you're pretty much translating, localizing, reviewing on a daily basis. But you actually studied business administration and economics. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Like all of my study path has nothing to do with what I do today, but in a way it still has something to do with it, which we will get into later, I think. So yeah, I actually did a bachelor's degree in business, like in economics and business administration in Germany, where I'm from. My specializations were marketing, I think, and IT, or like business informatics. I don't know if you say that like that in English, but it was like IT for business, basically.
Okay.
I hated it. I did not like my bachelor's degree at all. It was I think it was mostly the university and the people. It was very finance heavy, and people were very, oh, I'm going to be an investment banker. I'm so chic. I'm like so rich, whatever. So the atmosphere was not the greatest. But like the marketing and the IT modules I really liked. So that gave me an indication for my master's degree. I also then studied communications for the European Union in my master's degree, which also doesn't have much in common with my bachelor's. So my whole path was a bit, left to right to left to right. And I loved that. That was great. I did that in France, actually, where I live now. And after that, I figured, oh no, it's not what I want to do long term. I don't want to work in communications and like do social media, etc., for a company. So I did another master's here in user experience design. So those are all of my studies I did, which they don't have much in common with what I do today. But yeah, very very funny.
So what was it that made you choose that degree? Was it just did you not know what to study at that stage, and it seemed like kind of a safe option or something that could be applied to a lot of different sectors, or what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, it was kind of a bit by chance. So I actually started out studying linguistics in my bachelor's degree for like the first semester, and I had a business minor, which I chose to like be more employable basically at the end of my bachelor's. I didn't expect to like it, but I just took it because, well, it's a good option, right? Because linguistics, what will you do with linguistics? And I started that out, and I did not really like this bachelor's degree. I felt like the linguistics degree was super interesting, but I found myself not really motivated to study because there was no real job outcome at the end. I didn't really know what I was working towards. So I stopped that and didn't really know what to do, and kind of by accident just continued studying business, which in the end I think was a good decision because I learned a lot about just general life, lots of different topics like finance, economics, marketing, which helps me a lot today, like as a subject matter. But at the time, it was kind of random.
Yeah, and not very enjoyable by the sounds of things.
No, like every semester I was like, oh no, I can't do it anymore. I need to do something else. But I didn't really know what else to do. So I just stuck with it and finished it as quickly as possible just to move on to something else. Yeah.
So how did you go from there to where you are today then? How did you break into kind of translation and localization?
Yeah, that's actually completely by chance as well, I would say. So I always had this interest for languages. As I told you, I started studying linguistics because I really liked the theoretical part behind learning languages and how languages are built, etc. I also studied abroad, which I really liked, and had in general each semester I took some language courses like business French, business English, stuff like that, which I really liked. But I never thought about becoming a translator. It just never came to my mind because I associated it with book translation and certificate translation and never thought about a connection between IT or business and languages. So and then when I finished all of my studies, I actually started also as a freelancer in user experience design because that's what I was doing at the time. And I always wanted to go freelance. So I was like, okay, let's start with that. I already do that, so might as well do it as a freelancer. But I knew I didn't want to stay in this field, but I didn't know yet what else I wanted to do. So I just started out, and by accident, my first client was actually a user testing company. So they were working with user experience design, and they translated their website into German and needed someone to review it that also knows user experience design very well. So someone that has the subject matter expertise and spoke German. So that was actually the perfect first client. And it was with this client that I learned about localization, which I'd never heard about before. And it was like, wow, this is perfect. It's IT, it's kind of communications, it's websites, it's languages, it's cultural adaptation. I love cultures, I love languages. And yeah, it was kind of the click aha moment where I discovered this. Yeah, then I started to shift.
So perhaps if you hadn't found that client, then you wouldn't be where you are today.
Most probably, yes. I'm like, oh God, what would I have done if I wouldn't have found this client? Such random thing, but
So
it was great for me.
So you don't have any kind of official translation master's degree or any official qualifications with languages then?
No, apart from like the usual DALF certificate in French or something like that. No, I haven't done any official training. No.
And has that posed a problem for you when you've been trying to find clients, or maybe when you were first starting out, and obviously that's the most difficult time for any freelancer when you don't have experience. I know when I first started, all of the agencies wanted a copy of my master's degree. So have you found that to be a problem along the way, or have you managed to work your way through without any qualifications?
That's super interesting what you're saying, because I thought about this question, and I didn't have any problems. I think like nobody ever asked for my degree or anything, but I think it's because I don't work with agencies. And yeah, so it's interesting that you confirm that. I never tried to apply really for agencies, and maybe I couldn't because I don't have a translation degree, but I feel like direct clients were not too keen on an official degree. So I felt like, yeah, it was completely doable because of direct clients. Maybe I feel like they valued the subject matter expertise a lot more than the official translation degree, actually. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of, at least in my experience now, I don't really get asked for it, which is interesting. I think when you're first starting out and you don't have any experience, that's kind of your backup.
True.
When anyone asks, well, why should we take you on as a translator? You can say, well, I have a master's in translation.
True.
As the years pass and you get more hands-on experience, then that's what they're interested in. So I imagine you're at a stage now where like your experience speaks for itself. They don't need any qualifications.
Maybe, yeah, because it's true that for this first client, they asked why I was a good person as a reviewer, as I'm not like an official reviewer, didn't study German or whatever. And at the time, I actually just sold my other work experience, but kind of adapted to this new client. So I told them, yeah, I worked at UX, which was good for them. I told them I worked in journalism, which shows that I know how to write, because I actually worked as a freelance journalist a couple of years in Germany, next to my studies. So I think showing that I know how to write in German was actually maybe convincing enough to them. And I think it's also quite an important asset to have in general as a translator. It's very important to know how to write well in your native language. So I think this combination made up for the lack of a degree for direct clients. Probably not for agencies. I don't think I would have been able to break into agencies, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think I agree with what you said about having the writing skills. I think a lot of people confuse bilingualism with being able to translate something well, and actually having the writing skills in order to put together a piece of writing that flows. I think obviously you need the language skills, but the language skills on their own aren't enough.
No.
So yeah, I can see that probably your experience as a journalist probably stood you in really good stead for getting clients onto your books and slowly building up a decent amount of business.
In my journalism experiences, I did multiple internships and then I worked as a freelancer, as I said. So I got lots of feedback during the internships, especially on my writing style, how to make a nice sentence, how to make a nice intro to a text, etc., nice title. So I think that helped really a lot. Also, you got a lot of feedback on your spelling, on your grammar, etc. If you're forgetting about commas. So you learn quite a lot with this experience, I think. And even I was thinking about today for video translations, I think it's helping, because I did one internship where I also wrote text for like radio or video, which is a spoken text, which is very different from a written text, right? Yeah. And I remember them telling me, use very short sentences, short and easy sentences, because everything that's very long sounds super unnatural in like spoken out loud. And I still use this knowledge to this day when I'm translating for a TV ad, for example. I write very differently than for like a text for an email or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it just goes to show that a translation master's doesn't give you all the skills that you actually need in order to be successful.
Yeah, I think it does, probably, because most people go that route and it works. But I feel like if you don't have it, it's not necessarily, you can still get there with other experiences like writing or I also worked in communications, which helped me to know how to write a newsletter or a social media caption, which helps a lot today when I translate those kinds of contents.
So if anyone out there is listening and they're considering taking a master's degree, or they're trying to get into translation and they're not sure that a translation master's is for them, what advice would you give them?
If they should do a master's or not, or?
No, not sorry, I'll rephrase the question. I mean, if anyone's thinking that they want to break into the translation industry and they're not really that keen on doing a master's degree, perhaps because of the financial investment or because they feel like they maybe have other skills that could help them get into the sector, what advice would you have for them?
I feel like it's like when you want to change from one industry into another, or like one job into another, the best thing is to look at your current skill set and check which skills might apply to your new dream job, basically. And I think that's what I did. So I knew I had the subject matter expertise in business, IT, UX, etc. So I knew, okay, maybe I need to try and find clients that value this content experience or this subject matter experience. So I think for everyone else breaking into this industry, they could look at, do I have writing experience? Do I have specific subject matter experience that is very valuable to clients? Like, I think not many people have such a big business knowledge or finance knowledge. So if you come from finance, you know finance really well, and you speak two languages and you write well, why not try finance translations? Or yeah, if you have a lack of writing experience, I think that's something you might be able to work on yourself as well. So you could just start out and translate things on yourself and send them to a friend or a translator you found on LinkedIn, and you pay them to review it maybe and give you feedback. So I think there's always a way to do it on your own without going the expensive route. And especially I think in the UK it's expensive, right? Because in France and Germany it was free, the master's degree.
Oh no, mine certainly wasn't.
Yeah, it's not like this in every country. So, but even then, you need to pay for your expenses when studying, right? You can't work, so that's a cost.
Yeah. So you'd say then it's possible for anyone who wants to do it, obviously provided they've got the language skills and they're willing to put the time into breaking into the industry.
I mean, anyone, no, probably, because not everyone is a good freelancer, not everyone will be able to be a good writer, I guess, but if you're able to acquire those skills, then I think it's totally possible to do it without a master's degree. But I would probably advise to search for direct clients. And maybe I, for example, found my first direct clients on Upwork, which I think is a bit more open to beginners. I think on LinkedIn, it might be difficult maybe to find someone off the bat like that. But on Upwork, for like a small job for 2 hours, something small like an email translation, you might be able to find something and then work your way up from something small to something bigger. So I think that's also very helpful.
Is Upwork something that you still use, or do you not need to advertise your services via that platform anymore?
I still use it, but I use it a lot less than like a year ago, for example. So when I started out, I really found all of my clients from there, I would say, and some of them still are my clients and are really good clients. So there's this misconception, or I don't know, that on Upwork there's only bad paying, horrible clients from I don't know where, and they don't look for quality, but just for a cheap price. And it's true for the most part, maybe, but if you dig and you really read lots of offers, etc., you can find great clients. So I still use it sometimes when people find me on there, but it's becoming less and less. So I now find them mostly on LinkedIn, I'd say, or from my network.
Okay. Yeah, I'd heard the same about Upwork. That's why I was interested to know if you were still using it, because a couple of people have recommended it to me. Well, a couple of people recommended it to me when I was first starting out. And I didn't end up using it for that reason, because that was what I heard, that the pay wasn't great, or people wanted a lot of work for very little money. So I didn't go down that route.
You can find lots of that on there, but I try to really look at the offers. So on this platform, it's you that looks at the offers, because I know there's some other freelance platforms out there where they find you, but you can't do anything yourself to find a project. But on there you can like browse through different projects, and I really look at the country where the client is from, because just knowing that the purchasing power is not the same in every country. So a client from, I don't know, Bangladesh might not be able to pay a rate for me living in a city like Paris. I just need to take a higher price because otherwise I'm not able to pay my rent here. And I completely understand that they don't have the budget for me, and it's completely fine, but I just don't apply for any projects that are in countries where I just know the purchasing power is not that great. But if I see Switzerland, Norway, UK, etc., then I know, oh, okay, they probably are used to paying a little bit higher rates. And sometimes you can even see on the bottom right what their average hourly pay rate is. So if there's something like $6, I'm like, nope, bye. But if it says something like 25 to 40, I'm like, okay, I might try with a higher rate. They might accept it. So
okay. So you'd say it's worth giving it a try then, but just be cautious with the clients that you go for.
Yes, I'd say so. And you see rather quickly if it's a good client or not. I feel like the good ones really want an interview with you and a Zoom call to get to know you, etc. And the bad ones, maybe they just send you the work and that's it. And they never really communicate with you. So you can kind of, with a bit of a time, you can sort the bad from the good ones.
Yeah. Okay, so just to finish off our interview today, are there any tools or apps or books that you couldn't live without on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, tools, I thought about two. So can I name two? Because I know you asked for one. I have one that is mostly for like project management, etc. It's called Shift. I found it quite recently, and it's made for summarizing all of your email addresses and calendars into one app.
Oh, wow.
Which is great because I have so many different clients. So I have different email addresses with those clients sometimes. And I just couldn't live with all the open tabs. So this tool is really great. So you can integrate all of your different email addresses, all your calendars from them into one, basically, and have it all in one place. Have all your project management tools in this place as well. So you can connect it to Asana, to Trello, which is great. So I love this tool. And for transcreation localization, I really like a German page, I think it is, called phrasen.com. So it's Phrasen, which is like the plural for the German word phrase. So, and it's super interesting because you can put in a word, like let's say snow, and then it shows you proverbs with the word snow, or like sayings, or just like sentences that are very common in the language. Okay. So it's really great if, for example, I have a transcreation of a title and yeah, there's the word snow in it. I just put in snow in German and it shows me lots of different sayings, etc. with the word snow, and then I can adapt maybe the saying to use it in a transcreation, for example. So
do you find that tends to speed up your transcreation project?
Yes, I think so, because otherwise I would be there brainstorming for hours and thinking myself of potential sayings in German that use the word snow, because if it was a saying in the English version, then I would want to use a saying in the German version as well, right? So I would brainstorm and maybe I wouldn't find all of the possibilities, but if I go on this page, I just find everything in one go, and then I can try and switch those sentences that I found up to match the transcreation that I'm working on, which is a great tool. So yeah, recommend it to everyone. And I think they also have maybe Swedish, Finnish. I think they have some Scandinavian languages too. Not sure for English, probably
so
also.
It spans quite a lot of languages then.
Yeah, but not all of the languages. I feel like it's mostly Scandinavian, Germanic languages.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, for all our German listeners out there, you can add a new tool to your list.
Yes.
Okay, Eva, well, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, for me too. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.